A damaging report and a candidate refusing to back down. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson says his eyes are set on the governor's seat as turmoil surrounds his campaign.
We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will. God bless you, and we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
We will have comprehensive coverage tonight, breaking down a report shedding light on Robinson's past, his response, and reaction from his opponent. All of this comes less than 2 months out from Election Day as voters start to finalize their picks. Let's begin with a report that could have a major impact on who our next governor is. Good evening, I'm Sydney Moore. The report accused Robinson of making a long list of comments on an adult film website more than a decade ago. Many of them we cannot share because they are so graphic. The report quotes messages allegedly by Robinson saying things like, quote, "I'm a black Nazi." Another message reading, quote, "I'm a perv." The report says Robinson supported bringing back slavery and suggested he'd prefer Hitler over leaders in Washington. There was a lot of speculation today that Robinson could drop out of the race for governor because of that report. Before the report came out, Robinson had released a video trying to discredit it. He says he never said any of those things and said they were AI generated. He also referred to the accusations as salacious lies.
Those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too.
CNN says it vetted all information and stands by the report. Attorney General Josh Stein's campaign quickly responded to the report. Stein is the Democratic nominee for governor. His campaign said, quote, "North Carolinians already know Mark Robinson is completely unfit to be governor. Josh remains focused on winning this campaign so that together we can bring and build a safer, stronger North Carolina for everyone." The report spread like wildfire through all levels of government in our state. WFMY News 2's Nixon Norman joins us now with reaction from state leaders on both sides of the aisle.
Sydney, this evening I spoke to Republican Dale Folwell and Democrat Pricey Harrison, both state leaders, and both not pleased with the CNN report that says Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson made racist and sexually graphic comments on an adult website. North Carolina State Treasurer Dale Folwell went head-to-head with Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson during the primary election back in March. Both may be Republicans, but Folwell describes himself as a true conservative and says the reports made about Robinson today stand against those values.
You know, the Republican Party that I have joined nearly 50 years ago is a party that's based on, conservatism, which means to save, common sense, humanity, humility, and ethics. And this reporting that's going on today shows that he has none of those things.
State Representative Pricey Harrison from Guilford County says the accusations are horrible, but not surprising. A report from CNN cites comments Robinson made on a pornographic website more than a decade ago. In the report, he's accused of referring to himself as a, quote, black Nazi and expressed support for slavery.
This is not new. None of this is new. It's been going on for years. Republicans were willing to embrace him and endorse him as the gubernatorial candidate. And now that the information about him is public and it's actually affecting all the races on the ballot, there's urgency.
Both leaders say Robinson's run has been powered by endorsements, which can have consequences.
What this demonstrates is that in some instances, we don't have elections, we have selections. And when you get the endorsement of the former president and the Republican national chair, who used to be the North Carolina Party chair, it's really hard to overcome that.
Harrison says it also shows how politicians today can use what some consider extreme views to get attention.
I might be prejudiced, but I don't think that the Democrats are having the same kind of experience. If our candidates are extreme, it's because they're extreme about access to women's reproductive rights or equality or a clean environment, but not this crazy stuff.
Now, we did attempt to go to the home of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson again today in Colfax around 7:30 p.m. to get his reaction to all of this. No cars were in the driveway and no one answered the door.
Nixon, thank you. We also heard from two federal lawmakers tonight. U.S. Congresswoman Kathy Manning of Greensboro said, quote, "I call on elected Republicans in North Carolina to rescind their endorsements. A self-proclaimed Nazi and Holocaust denier has no place as the governor of our state." U.S. Senator Tom Tillis weighed in saying, quote, "It was a tough day, but we must stay focused on the races we can win. We have to make sure President Trump wins North Carolina and support the outstanding GOP candidates running for key General Assembly and judicial races." Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance spoke at a rally in Raleigh last night. Robinson was not in attendance. His campaign did not give us a reason why. He did appear with Vance and former President Trump at a rally in Asheboro last month. It's important to note Robinson has missed campaign stops from the Trump-Vance campaign at other points in the year. Robinson rises to the top of the Republican Party was not traditional. A speech about gun rights at a Greensboro City Council meeting in 2018 propelled him into his politics. 2 years later, voters elected him as the state's first black lieutenant governor. He won the Republican primary for governor, securing nearly 65% of the vote. All of this comes as the polls show a large gap between Robinson and Stein. The latest Emerson College poll found Stein led by 8 points. Stein has held a steady lead in the race for several weeks. We recently asked Robinson about the polls, who told us he was confident the votes would swing his way on Election Day. And we spoke with the NC State political science expert about the state of the race. He says he expects this to lock things up for Stein.
I guess what's interesting about this is it seemed that Mark Robinson was already very likely to lose this race. So it just makes it that more likely for it to be so.
Rumors swirled all day that Robinson faced pressure from within the party to drop out. Our political expert says he suspects another candidate would have given the party a better shot. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign was quick to point out the ties between Robinson and former President Donald Trump. Her campaign tweeted 4 photos showing them standing together for a picture. Trump has endorsed Robinson in the past. At a speech in Greensboro earlier this year, he even compared Robinson to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
I told that to Mark. I said, "I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2. When I said that to you, you looked like, I don't know if I like that comment. You should like it, because you are outstanding and you're going to be the next governor. So that's going to be very cool."
Trump's campaign hasn't responded to our request for comment about the report. Trump has a rally scheduled this weekend in Wilmington. It's one of many stops his campaign has made in our state. Mail-in ballots start going out tomorrow. They are a week delayed after a lengthy fight between the State Board of Elections and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Military personnel and people currently out of the U.S. get them first. The rest of the ballots will start going out on Tuesday. They are due by the end of election night in November. What this truly means for the governor's race and how it will play out in the weeks and months ahead, only you get to decide the actual impact. There are still several weeks left to register to vote. However you feel about what we learned today, it's important that you make sure your voice gets heard this November. Turning to weather now, Tim, pretty much clear skies today as far as rain goes. Will it be another clear day tomorrow?
Well, Sydney, as we go through the weekend, we're really going to expect more and more in the way of dry weather. We had a couple of showers for this evening, and even right now, there are still a couple around our area, but they're starting to fizzle out a little bit. You might have noticed this, especially if you're watching some football earlier tonight up in Boone. We saw these showers impact that football game, of course. There are still a couple in the foothill communities. Otherwise, it's kind of a muggy night. This is going to feel a lot more like August than September. We have a lot of humidity that we're dealing with right now. The late night temperature is still hanging on to right around 70 degrees, and there's plenty of humidity to go right along to that. The dew point temperature is right there near the air temperature, and that means fog is very likely to start to develop as we go into the morning. Right now, not so bad, but already seeing Siler City has 1 mile of visibility. That's a sign that we're in for probably likely a pretty foggy night. In fact, our fog predictor, take a look at this. Early tomorrow morning, you might be looking at visibility around half a mile in some spots. That's pretty tough, so allow a little extra time. Take it easy out there for the morning commute. That fog, it'll burn off by around 9 to 10 in the morning for sure. By the afternoon, we're up to right around 82 degrees. It's a warm Friday for sure, but it won't have a good chance of rain. Only about a 20% chance of a shower. We'll talk about your weekend forecast and look at the tropics coming up.
Tim, thank you. Documents outline new information about the Greensboro man accused of trying to kill Donald Trump. They shed new insight into Ryan Root's lengthy history with law enforcement. They say a 2002 arrest stemmed from him having an explosive device. He pled guilty to a felony to avoid jail time. Documents also say he's stolen many items over the years, things like bathtubs, a table saw, light fixtures, an air conditioner, and more. Ryan now faces federal gun charges. A Rockingham County student faces a charge after investigators say they threatened to shoot up a school. Deputies say a text thread between 8 students reveals one of them threatened Bethany Community School. Investigators say the student pretended to be a classmate when making the threats. The student faces a charge for communicating threats of mass violence against the school. Sheriff Sam Page says his office takes all threats seriously. Districts across the Triad and state have seen similar situations play out. Just this week, Alamance County deputies arrested 2 kids. School leaders stressed the importance of reporting threats rather than spreading them on social media. New tonight, investigators in the Triad say thieves targeted cars today. The Davie County Sheriff's Office says people broke into several cars in Bermuda Run early this morning. This surveillance image shows one of them approaching a truck. Deputies say a lot of the cars that got robbed were left unlocked. Protests at UNC led to vandalism at a campus building. Pictures from the school show graffiti over an ROTC building. The university says this is another round of pro-Palestine protest on campus. The school says anyone who damaged property or broke the law could face criminal charges. You'll remember earlier this year, widespread protests related to the war swept over campus. Dozens of people ended up getting arrested. New at 11, Guilford County commissioners approved a plan to give some people a tax refund tonight. State law lets people petition their taxes if they find an error in them. In total, the county agreed to pay hundreds of people back. The amount comes out to more than $35,000. In order to get that money back, you would have to have had petitioned the county. One of the Triad's biggest stars is home. Kendra Harrison talks about what led him back to Reedsville ahead of his return to the field tomorrow night.
And App State looked to start conference playoff on a strong note, but that was anything but the case tonight inside Kid Brewer Stadium. We have all the details coming up in sports.